Hi, and thanks for joining us for another Q&A Friday, a regular series where we chat about issues facing manufacturers who are undergoing digital transformation efforts. I'm Jessica Vodden, a team member here at Mountain Point, and I'm joined by Andrew Reiser, our co-founder and president, and Tony Vonarini, our Principal ERP Consultant. Hey, guys.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi. So today's topic I think is really interesting because we're going to talk about strategies that provide the omni-channel level of support that we hear so many folks are trying to achieve. But let's start with the basics because I think that there are a lot of buzzwords thrown around in this space. We hear about omni-channel 360-degree insight. But Andrew, in plain English, what does all of that really mean?
I think what we're seeing now is, all buzzwords aside, customer service and folks in inside sales, as an example, want to have information at their fingertips when customers call in seeking information. So when we talk about omni-channel and providing these various avenues through chat bots or through email, phone call, regardless of the channel, I think that people want information and want answers. And often we hear it as first call response. So being able to answer that question and have the information to service that customer is what is most important. So all that being aside, in plain English, I think it is being able to address and provide the information based off the requester on the first call or the first interaction.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So I'm in a marketing role here at Mountain Point, and I know that you and I have talked a lot about scaling service, right? So whenever we are trying to provide that level of support and personalization to our customers that maybe they used to have with smaller companies or mom and pop shops, but at scale, this is an avenue to really have that context and that history for every single customer, even if you have thousands of customers, right?
I think that's correct. I think that in the past, for customer service departments to scale, whether it be in like peak seasons or seasonal activity, it was always, how do we hire more bodies or hire more temporary staff? And I think what we're finding is, by reevaluating business processes and connecting the dots from all the various systems, whether it be the source systems in the ERP, the systems of engagement like Salesforce, by being able to bring that all into one platform and all one system of engagement, I think that we're seeing scale be looked at in a different fashion, where technology can really drastically aid what was previously thought of as needing to hire more people.
Awesome. So very valuable whenever we have companies that are trying to do more with less in this very competitive environment. So, Tony, I know you've done a lot of work in helping some of our clients achieve that level of support by aligning their customer support systems to their ERP systems. And from what I understand, essentially you've helped transform what traditionally has been more of a system of record into a system of engagement. I think one of the best stories that you've shared with us in the past really relates to the work that you've done with Matouk. And Matouk is a 90-year-old textile manufacturer in New England who is utilizing their ERP system and bringing in service consoles. So, Tony, can you tell me a little bit about why Matouk approached us and what their goals were whenever they came to you and started talking to you about this idea or the solution?
Yes, of course. So it wasn't a solution that was brought up in the first inning. As we went through the implementation, went through the configuration, identifying first and foremost the massive amount of data that's on the platform, right? The platform is massive. It is fully comprehensive of everything within the business, but at the same time, they have customer service reps that need information quickly, and they need the aggregation of all of the information that is on the platform aggregated quickly for a quick response to customers, interior designers, their trade partners, anybody that is going to be calling and contacting Matouk for information on their order. They need to be able to give them accurate, quick information. So it was identified towards the later end of the implementation that this was a mission critical go live item that needs to be delivered and needs to be scoped accordingly. And luckily, we were able to do that in 2 facets, which I'm excited to show you guys.
And I think if I can add on to that, the intriguing piece of this that I found interesting is that this was brought to the table by customer service. So that shows the innovation and the thinking that some of these companies that are undergoing digital transformation, where customer service realized that they had a challenge. They knew that the new product or ERP system that was put in place was going to add either more time or more work to their daily tasks. And so they asked, how could we do this better? Here's what I envision. This is what I would love to have. And so empowering those end users to kind of step forward and share how they can do their job more efficiently, I think is something that I'd also like to kind of highlight before Tony shows this.
Awesome. So I'm sure that helps a lot with buy-in and support, because this is, as with any digital transformation effort, this is a huge organizational change. So having people really own the process and see the end game or the value that they're going to get out of it, I'm sure is crucial to getting this implemented internally.
And for us, there was rarely a no, right? We pretty much said yes to everything because all of the data lived on the platform. So we were able to answer anything on their needs list and anything on their wish list as it pertains to what they wanted on these types of consoles.
Very cool. Okay, so we've been talking about it at kind of high level, overview goals. Tony, can you show us, like, what does it look like day to day? What are people seeing and how does it work?
So there's 2 types of consoles that we have created. One of which is a sales order centric console and one that is a product centric console. Now, both of them have similar data that is populated within the rows that are depending on the search criteria. These search criteria are meant to be a Google style search, to where in the product, you can type in anything, and anything within a contains clause within that, what you typed in that search box, any product that matches that criteria in any fashion is going to populate within the search. And then from a sales order perspective, it's any sales order number, any customer PO number, or any customer, it's going to actually pre-populate. So if I were to go in here and start typing in sales order numbers, I'm going to get an array of sales order numbers that fit this, sales orders that contain customer PO that contains 1, 2, and I'll be able to decide which one I'm looking for. So it's nice from a CSR perspective, because the CSR is only going to be able to get, okay, what's your sales order number? What's your customer PO number? What customer am I talking to, right? So they have choices on depending on what the customer or the trade partner has in front of their face. As far as the sales order is concerned, the CSR has that information quickly to where they can just type it in. So by doing that, they have the ability to select the sales order itself and the customer, of course, click the submit button. Let's find a larger order. That 2 rows. But nonetheless, this gives you an automatic, dynamic view state of this sales order and everything that's dependent on the sales order. So I get a list here of the products that are on here, which allow the user to hover over that and to get any specific information that they need. But at the end of the day, just look at it from the CSR perspective. Most likely, if somebody's calling Matouk, they're not asking what products did they order. They're asking, when can I expect to be here, right? So the due date's going to populate on what the expected due date is of this item and when we're expected to have it delivered to this customer. And then it gives you an array of all of the dependencies. So if this item is late, per se, they could go in and identify if it's on a PO, right? If it's on a work order, and identify, is it A, are we waiting for procured items to come in stock in order for us to manufacture it? Or B, is it delayed on the shop floor and it's currently in WIP? And then at the end stages here, you have the pick, pack, ship, which is the fulfillment processes and stages within the ERP. Another good way to look at this as well is You can have a customer that is calling that has a priority per se, right? A priority saying, I have all of these items in stock, but I don't need to ship complete. Can you please pick, pack, ship line 2 and order line 1? Whenever that comes into place, we can ship that to the customer. So it's dynamic because it gives you a visual state of what other sales orders are using this product, how many are on this line, how many are on hand. Maybe they want to increase the order, right? Okay, you just made an inquiry for 206, 246. You want to increase your order from 1 to 4. Well, we have 4 on hand here, but we only have 2 available to sell. All of these dynamic information, all of this dynamic information and quantities are right in front of the CSR based on what I'm looking at here, in excess of over 80 objects of information within the platform, right? So it's giving them all of the information that they need in a consolidated fashion to make a smart, quick answer to the customer, which is the main focal point of the sales order part of this. Now, if I were to make an inquiry regarding products, now, whether it's a trade partner or a consumer, at the end of the day, anybody that is from a CSR perspective can actually place an order, right? So they have cases to where a customer wants to place an order or make an inquiry of a product or this, that, or the other. If they have specific types of products that they're looking for, they could type in like a style here of, say, M230. It's going to take a second for it to populate because it's aggregating all of the information for M230. And then you're getting a list here of every single product that contains M230. And M230 in Matouk's case is the style. So you're populating all of the products that contain M230, along with all of the information tied to that specific product. I can hover over values within this console. Say I want to see quantity on open orders for this item here, this product right here. I just have to hover on 6, and it's going to show me where those 6 quantities are, what order they're tied to, what customer they're tied to, etc. Quantity on hand, where the quantities are within their inventory, the locations. And then from an in-transit perspective, a WIP perspective, and a PO perspective. So again, they can type in anything within this product description. They could type in black duvet. And it's going to populate all products that contain black and duvet and give them an answer. So from a CSR, they have the ability to get whatever information they can possibly get from the customer and give them a full 30,000-foot view of everything that the customer needs and help the customer make an intuitive decision. With the data being real time, there's no ambiguity because all of the control systems within the ERP and all the processes within the ERP, from the quote to cash to the procure to pay, is all going to allow the customer to make the right decision based on the information the CSR has given them from these consoles.
That's really cool. So do the CSRs or the SDRs have the ability to kind of shuffle things? So let's say that they know that we have 5 black duvets reserved for an order in March. So they're kind of partitioned off, but we could get more of those in March and somebody needs them tomorrow. Are they able to kind of edit those things on the fly, or would that mess up the whole system?
No, that's a great question. So the prioritization of orders is a tool, right? If you have an urgent order that needs to go out tomorrow, then let's go ahead and reallocate the quantities that we have from a fulfillment process to that urgent order and backdate the quantities or create new requirements for a new order at a later date, right? At the end of the day, the pliability is there for anybody to get from an internal Matouk perspective to make a smart decision, whether it's giving them a real answer of saying, I know the lead time said 2 weeks, but it's going to be 3 weeks, or this material that is a part of this PO is from the vendor is late. There's nothing we can do about it. It's giving them a smart answer. It's not they're able to give detailed information to the customer on the fly, and have trust into that information. These consoles are available to all internal Matouk users and all partners that are accessing Matouk's information via the community. So whether you're an interior designer or a wholesale partner, you're able to go into your community portal and access these as well. And the permissions are going to allow you to only view what you can see natively, right? So they're only accessing orders that are tied to them, and they're only accessing, and that's from a hover on perspective the whole way through. So as a wholesale or trade customer, you're able to go into the product, do a search, and show, okay, there's only 6 available to sell. I'm not going to be able to turn it around right now. If you need the order shipped tomorrow, but this is how much I have available here, or I have -6 available to sell. Maybe we're a little bit behind on that item. It just allows them to give a fully comprehensive visual of the status of a product and the status of specific work orders from the entire shop floor perspective. And with 60,000 plus products, you need that dynamic possibility, right? You need that possibility of going in and making a quick, easy search as this to get a quick, easy answer, which otherwise would be complex from a dashboard report perspective, you name it, within Salesforce, Force.com platform.
So their channel partners, their distributors, their interior designers, they have access to this information, which saves them a call, right? They don't have to call the customer service department. They can find it out on their own. And I imagine that would save the customer service team a lot of time.
So since these consoles were launched, and these consoles were of go live dependency, calls to customer service has dropped 80+%. So the amount of hours and energy going in from that team to receive calls has diminished dramatically, because exactly right, you're able to get answers quickly as a trade partner. So because you have a community and you have access to this via the community. So yes, exactly. It saved an extraordinary amount of man hours inside of Matouk. And then for the people that do call, any customers and any flavor of customer, they're able to give the same information regardless.
Very cool. So just to confirm, because I think I heard you say this, but I want to kind of emphasize it or make sure I have the correct understanding. With these channel partners, I mean, privacy is always a concern in any business, right? So you said that even though they have access, you can control very specifically what information they have access to.
Yes. So there's a deep amount of complexity that gave us that ability within the security model when accessing via the community. But as a customer, you're able to access it and only view sales orders that you own, right? So sales orders that they're affiliated with, sales orders that they're associated with, those are the only sales orders that they can access. So yes, there's actually a great deal of effort that was put forth towards that in order to allow the security within the system to conform to the trade partners that are going to be accessing the community, and more specifically these consoles. So as a trade consumer, you're only going to be able to view sales orders that you're associated with. And from a hover detail perspective, you're only going to be able to view details that you're associated to. They're always going to be able to see the same quantities. So the quantities are going to be available for them to get visibility and read-only access into that. But from a hover perspective, they're only going to be able to see hover details that pertain to them. So it is very, very nice, because from a reporting perspective, the metrics should match any reporter dashboard, and they do. And then for the real-time access, they can access these consoles on any device and get a quick answer. So it's been fantastic, because with the 600 to 700 plus objects that are associated with Rootstock, you don't have the ability to have very dynamic reports and dashboards as it pertains to the information we're showing here without an extensive amount of formula fields or customizations, et cetera, to give the cross-object visibility. But for this to have a console that provides all of the cross-object visibility you see here, goes without saying, it's increased adoption tenfold and has allowed all of the partners that they associate themselves with to get quick answers and accurate answers. And to your point, absolutely take stress off of the customer service team by getting information that they can get on themselves.
That's a perfect segue into my next question. So I know you mentioned that customer service calls have dropped by 80%, right? What other outcomes has Matouk seen that have really impacted their business?
Specifically when it pertains to these, or just the ERP in general?
I'd say when it pertains to the service console.
Okay, cool. So, well, I guess there's a lot of different ways to answer that, right? Because a lot of these are not only used from a CSR perspective, but they're really used from a planning perspective. So if I were to go into this product search, you have a really good gauge of not only your ATS values here on what's on your shop floor, but really what's outstanding, right? And then what's a really cool feature that we added is we actually added this little link right here, which is goes to a local report. So what I can do here is I could click on this value. It's going to open a separate tab, and it's actually going to show usage the last 12 weeks of that item. So it's very beneficial to have these from a planning perspective. And we've toggled with the idea of creating a separate planning type of console that is directly correlated to the planners for, forecasting raw materials and manufacturing for stock items, to identify what's being used and what type of visibility they can get into that. At the end of the day, this is a product of the ERP and the ERP configuration. If your data is correct, your systems and processes are correct, and you have tools like this, that's when you're getting the most out of it, right? Because without accurate data, this console is pointless, because all we're doing is aggregating data. So by having solid processes, solid configuration, solid data, you're able to leverage these consoles to get accurate information, whether it's on the front end, answering actual orders, or on the back end, planning and forecasting accordingly based on the values you see here. It's meant to be dynamic. At the end of the day, it's increased productivity tenfold, no matter what the process is. The best answer I can give to that is transparency, which is a product of their excellent implementation.
Yeah. So I know we're talking specifically about the service consoles, but we've done a lot of research on the outcomes that Matouk has achieved as a result of overhauling their ERP system. And am I right? It's like 233% ROI.
Yes. Nucleus did an ROI study on Matouk's implementation and their first couple years of go live. And yes, that is accurate.
So it's more than paid for itself, and is really helping them stay competitive.
Yes, they've cut lead times in half. They've gotten visibility and transparency into their entire shop floor, having metrics on their shop floor to keep themselves and their team accountable on expected due dates and their product. And at the end of the day, the data is really what's driving their success, because everything is on the platform.
Yeah. So I think that from what I'm hearing here, this has been a game changer for them, but as with any major breakthrough effort for a company, I'm sure it was also a massive undertaking. So Andrew or Tony, where do you start with something like this? Like if I'm watching this and I say, okay, I'm sold, I think this is worthwhile, but how do I begin?
Well, I think it's really important to understand what your objectives are and what you find to be an important measuring on a successful project such as this, right? So I think it's important to understand your data and understand what you want to accomplish by making a transition to a cloud ERP. And by doing that, identifying a partner that can get you across the finish line effectively, because the data model within Rootstock is complex. And these solutions are complex that I'm presenting to you, But in all honesty, the solution is a product of understanding what your business processes are and what systems you have in place that either need migrated to a platform such as Rootstock or need to be re-audited. So it's a great opportunity when taking on a cloud ERP project to reinvent your processes to be more efficient and use the technology to your advantage, and don't look at it as an intimidating mountain to climb, right? Take advantage of the pliability of the platform, take advantage of the processes that you can reinvent on the platform, and for a better end result of having accurate data that you can take advantage of and provide metrics to you and your team and executive sponsors to gauge the success.
Awesome. Well, and I think I would not be doing my job as the marketing person. Andrew might fire me if I didn't use this as an opportunity to make a shameless plug for Mountain Point. When you're talking about understanding your business processes and aligning these tools to them, I think that's where Mountain Point and folks like you, Tony, really shine, because we focus exclusively on manufacturing. Like we know the processes, we know what it takes to run a manufacturing business. We speak this language. So that's got to take a lot of the work off of our clients' backs, just not having to translate like that.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's super important to understand what their processes are and translate it to the technology, because a lot of the technology is new but from Matouk's perspective, they're very tech savvy. They understood the objectives, they understood the solutions, and we were an excellent team in that facet. And anybody that isn't tech savvy from a perspective of Salesforce or any technology, having an implementation partner that can go through those hurdles and unmuddy all of those waters is a very important asset to have, because these solutions took a team at the end of the day, and no one knows their own business like the client, right? But at the end of the day, that is correct. It's really just working together to get across the finish line with a common objectives, and everybody has the skills and assets within a team like this to do what we need to do.
Very cool. Andrew, anything to add?
I think the only other thing that I would add is what's very intriguing and exciting about Matouk is the fact that I always use the Domino's Pizza app as the example of how Domino's shows underneath the hood of data as it's progressing through. So everything from the order and the configuration of that order to placing the pizza in the oven to expected delivery time, all the way through delivery to your front door. And the way Matouk envisions kind of the future state of manufacturing and where they're looking to go as an innovator in this space is they want to be an open book. So data is king, and they want to they basically view themselves as an open API to the world. So whether you're a designer, trading partner, Bloomingdale's or Nordstrom, they want to be an open book to allow access into the nitty-gritty details of what's going on behind the scenes, because ultimately that's what provides value. That's what gives people the answers that they need. So I think Tony did a great job of walking through the use cases. And while this isn't fancy from a UI standpoint, the data's there and it makes it super efficient. So I'm excited for how we can continue to iterate on top of these things and expose more information into the communities, because every partner wants to hit the easy button. So they want to make it easy to do business with the manufacturer. And I think Matouk's done a great job of that.
Awesome. Well, guys, as usual, thanks so much for chatting with me today. And for those of you who are listening, if you have a question you'd like for us to answer or a topic you want us to tackle, please let us know. You can hit us up on our social media channels. You can email us or call us. We'd love your feedback. We'd love to talk about the things that are top of your mind. So give us some suggestions, and we will absolutely feature them in future conversations. Thanks again, guys, and have a happy Friday.